Hey, howdy folks. Got a lot of different topics this week, obviously. There's some real strange things going on. I'm gonna put this out right away to you, everybody on the channel, because it's kind of concerning. There's a channel that I watch all the time called Technical Tinkerers, and he's got the Orange Storm Giga, which he's now turned into the Blue Terra something or other, Mega, whatever. Anyway, he's disappeared. At least he isn't putting any videos online. And if anybody knows anything about what's happened to him, or if there's a problem or something, you know, maybe you can post down below and just let us all know what's going on, because I haven't seen any shorts or long videos from him for, I guess, over a month now. I don't think he moved like I did. But who knows? This past Black Friday, I went shopping, didn't really buy much of anything, but I did buy these little toolboxes from Harbor Freight because they were like $14, and I was like, well, it's so cheap, and they're such cute little boxes, you know, let's get them. And but my biggest challenge was, what do I use these little toolboxes for? I have great big full-size, you know, roll-around toolboxes that are full of tools, but these little ones, I thought they might be handy for something. And to be honest, I guess the overall picture right now is, you know, yeah, I haven't been able to find any use for them. No, I did not 3D print those. I purchased those, yeah. There is a couple of other things I did get at Harbor Freight. They have a drill set that's cheap. I think regular price is only about $20 or so, but they were on for, like, I think it was either $9 or $10 with the Black Friday deal and coupon, whatever. And they're little titanium coated, you know, theoretically really good drill bits. Well, I bought a pack last year, and they're so impressive. I bought a fresh pack of them, yeah, because I was really amazed. They did a really good job with everything I was cutting, so I was like, well, okay, great. Also picked up a countersink bit, just something I needed around here, and it was really weird because I have a good countersink bit, like a machinist type, that has a half-inch drive shaft on it, that kind of thing, and I can't find it. So I went to Harbor Freight thinking I'll pick that up. The best I could find was this little Mickey Mouse little, you know, countersink with 5 blades on it. Was like, yeah, you know what? I'll just live with it for now, because mine is still packed here somewhere in all this mess I've had. But 3D printing, yeah. Last week I was hoping to get another video by the end of the week, because I was experimenting with some PetG and some problems with the machines. One of the problems I've had, and again, see if I can't, you know, get somebody to post a link down below. I took the brass nozzle and changed it on one of my machines to a hardened steel nozzle, and had problems galore, you know. And I guess the very first problem was the PetG curled up and absolutely stuck to the nozzle instead of the print bed. I cleaned the print bed, got that issue resolved, but by that time I had gone back to my brass nozzle, because the hardened steel nozzle was just nothing but problems. And I want to run some glass fiber filament. It's PetG, yeah, PetG, but it's glass fiber. I think there's something else missing here someplace, but I can't remember. Anyways, it's from Polymaker over there in Houston, Texas. I've been, interestingly enough, I've been enjoying their stuff. I've been getting their filaments in, a little pricey, but some interesting features, such as the PLA, the HT PLA, high temperature, and it seems like it's pretty good stuff. My biggest complaint is over time, between humidity factors, temperature, cold, hot, whatever. PLA, for example, it just warps. It's like the nature of the beast. It just warps. And the HT seems to be kind of resistant to that idea, so that's really good. Also, I have changed my modeling around a little bit to help get away from warping problems, but it's almost like, you know, you can't get away. You know, there's 5 things you can do to stop warping, but I've tried all 5, you know. It's like, yeah, I'm still getting a little bit of, you know, warping. So basically running pretty much PetG for most of the tooling type projects that I have going on. Had a couple of problems this morning with the PetG as far as from Polymaker. I bought PetG from Polymaker this time around. I thought I'd give them a try. I've been enjoying King Rune, has been running absolutely phenomenal on the machines. And the only problem I had was the supports. I had to support a small, it's a screw with a countersink in it, and that's why I had to buy the bit. And the support was so welded in there with the modeling, I could not release it. Pliers, all the rest of it. So I was like chipping away, just making bits and pieces and making a nasty hole out of what should be a nice countersink, pre-drill or pre-formed, countersink in the model. I can't get it out of there. It can't clean up. So I got the countersink bit and just ran that slowly through on slow speed, just sort of cut the plastic away to get to where the countersink is there. The problem is, of course, I'm not sure where the support is to where the model part of the material is now. You can't see it. I mean, it's like it's almost invisible. This all showed up when I went to the PetG that I'm buying from Polymaker. So, there could be some issues down the road there. The King Rune's not giving me the same results for the support. And so I'm thinking about changing the support around a little bit, see if I can't get a more organic or a loose support or something that I can tear out of there with a pair of pliers real quick, because I've spent a good chunk of the morning cleaning a couple of models that's not worth that much. And as anybody can tell you, print farming is all about, fast, speed, sell, get it out, move it, quick, and you can make some pretty good coin. But if you have problems like I'm running into, all of a sudden it's like, you start looking at it thinking, you know what, if I had a job at McDonald's, it would actually pay better than what I'm doing right now. So not that great. But I still do enjoy my 3D modeling. Oh, and the last two products that I put together last week that I've launched, I think one of them, but I'll be launching the other one later. I did it on plasticity. Now, I've had a lot of trouble with plasticity. I've almost had the darn program for a year. I'm starting to figure out how to make plasticity work for me. I had the same problems with Fusion 360. A lot of times when you went to do a drawing, you thought, well, I'll draw this out, and then it was like, wait a minute, I've got an issue here with this drawing. How do I make it do this? And sometimes I would come up with a workaround. And with plasticity, what I discovered was I'll do the flat drawing first before I extrude or do anything else, and I will save it at that point, because it's really easy at that point to bring that file back into plasticity, make the changes you need, and then what I do for myself, and other people might do the same thing, then I'll maybe do the extrusion, make a prototype model out of some cheap junk PLA stuff that I got kicking around the shop, and then take a look at the model and see if it fits correctly, if everything is within spec to where it should be. That saves you a lot of headaches, but you do get into I call them versions or additions, and we had one product in particular out of plasticity. We got 16 versions before I finally got everything is right. Now we can save this file and keep it as an active production file for when the clients order this, we're ready to ship kind of thing. And so it's been a tough week. Like I said, by Friday, I wanted to get a video out to you guys, update you on what's going on, and it was just like, no, this is not happening. On top of that, we got another cold snap coming through here in southern Georgia. We went down into the below 30 at night. I think it was 27 overnight, stuff like that. And again, the cold temperatures really affect the machine. So won't affect this one because this thing is all bottled up nice. So it keeps itself warm, does its own thing a little bit. It's not chamber heated, but because you can close the front door and maybe just leave the lid off or something, you could run, without any trouble. Okay, so there's two machines coming out next year. They'll be released they'll be delivered by about the end of February right now. And one I didn't know about, and somebody posted down below in one of the videos, and I realized, whoa, I need to check that out. Here's the problem with new 3D printers, including the ones from Bamboo. For production needs, I need a bed that is approximately 320 by 320 millimeter. I only need about 15 millimeter of height, but for Z-axis. But if it goes up to 300 or 5, whatever, don't care. Just want that bed size so I can lay down the modeling and create it for the client. So yeah, that's that kind of puts me in a really strange place, because there's a lot of modeling out there that goes on, and I've even had some competitors try doing stuff with Bamboo Lab where they make half and half and glue it together and then ship it, and it looks like it doesn't look good at all to the customer, and the clients don't seem to appreciate it much. So I always make these things one piece, one shot with some supports usually, and on out the door, and I have a good finish when I'm done. So getting back to the 320 by 320, there's a lot of, it sort of narrows the market for me as to what I need. I would love to have that Orange Storm Giga, but at the same time, it's too big, you know, that's over the top. So I was looking at Cheaty. They have a new one coming out in late February. There'll be deliveries approximately last of February, first week of March, something like that. They'll be delivering these things. They're 390 by 390, so it's a big build plate. And I'll be honest, that's a great size, but it's actually bigger than what I need. Okay, so this link or this post that somebody put in there said, hey, by the way, have you checked out Anycubic is coming out with a machine that's 350 by 350. Whoa, that's within my requirements, my specifications. That will work just great, and it'll be a great price. So let's take a look at it. And Anycubic, I've got two of their machines running right now. I've got the Cobra 2 Plus. I've got the Cobra 2 Max. They've both been producing good quality parts for a whole year now, the both of them. They've been doing a great job. So it's like their software is a little weak. Yeah, it's not 100%. I wish it was, but it's just not. And that's about the only real, I think that's the only real complaint I have. There is something I talked about the other week about the Z setting and stuff where you can't play the paper trick or something with it, but it was like, functionally, once I get these machines set up and rolling, they seem to roll for a very long time with no further adjustments required. Maintenance-wise, just clean up a little bit here and there, and really haven't really got much to complain about at all with those two machines. A lot of people said they're garbage. Well, garbage is making a lot of money. Okay, so you know. So anyways, what it came down to was Cheaty's machine includes a lot of bells and whistles. Stuff I don't need. For another example, my product. I only use one color because that's what it's called for. That's what the client wants. That's it. You know, there is not even two color. No, I don't need it. You know, there's no requirement for it. So when you see something like Cheaty or, well, even the new Anycubic that has 350 by 350, one of the things they're pushing is like, you know, 16 color, 24 color, 32 color, whatever. I don't care. I'm not interested. I don't need all those colors. In fact, I don't want those colors in there. It would be nice to have a second spool to back up in case something goes wrong, you know, with the first spool, or it runs out of filament, like that would ever happen. Yeah, it has happened a few times, and it's a disaster. But generally, I usually try to catch the machine before it runs out, pause, swap out the spool, and then get going again. And I've been about 90% on time with catching it, you know, and being able to get the spool swapped out. The thing with the Cheaty is that it has like the motion camera stuff in there, stuff like that. Again, don't want it, don't need it. This is, for me, it should be representing a commercial machine that will produce the part I need. I'm not interested in all the rest of your bells and whistles or your colors or your LiDAR or camera functions, or it'll stop if it thinks there's a problem. You know, I really don't like that idea, because a lot of times that's where a lot of 3D printers seem to, you know, a lot of people seem to complain about, you know, it keeps stopping in the middle of a print because it thinks there's a problem and there isn't a problem or something. Oh, don't need it. One of the things about Cheaty is they do make really good quality machines. They seem to be, well, this one's kind of almost, you know, more of a consumer brand, this little guy right here. But even this one has the carbon fiber rod. It's almost a commercial style machine for what it is, you know, even though it's tiny. So the new Cheaty will at 390 by 390, awesome build plate, and it'll be like commercial grade. I just know Cheaty from the past, and they make some good, sturdy, strong machines, and their software is fair. I'm not gonna say it's great, but it is decent, you know, that you can use their slicer, that sort of thing, in-house and get the products made. Anycubic, on the other hand, I've had glitchy issues with their software. I've run into things with their slicer that like, this is a bit of a problem. But a lot of times I can get away with that. I'll go over to Orca Slicer or something and just set it all up, dial it in, and just run the product off from that. So I still make sure that I always look at the slicer on these machines, because the software back that's the critical thing to me. It's not so much the machine, although if it has linear rail bearings, that kind of design, it's fully enclosed, has a heated chamber, it has the Anycubic has all the basic features of what I require. So I ordered it, yes. So about the end of February, first week of March, where hopefully we'll have a review going. And one other thing about that review, whenever it comes up, it will be, hopefully it should be the most honest review of just about anybody out there, because I'm buying the machine, I'm paying for the machine. I'm not getting sponsored or anybody, paying me some money to tell you how great the thing is. But between the two, I realize because of the features that the Cheetah has, it does command a better price, but it costs double what the Anycubic will cost. And the Anycubic and the Cheetah both will give me the same product. So it was like, you know what? We can buy 2 of these Anycubics. In fact, I'll tell you what, when the Anycubic gets here, if it proves to be everything that I'm hoping it is, as a good, stable machine that can pump out product, I will be ordering a second one, and maybe even go to a third one. And if that's the case, maybe we'll even get rid of these 2 guys. I just have 3 Anycubics or something sitting here fully enclosed. I also like the fully enclosed for a couple of reasons. I do not like bed slinging, although both my Cobras are bed slingers. They take up huge space, and I really don't appreciate that. But it was like, that's what it was at the time. Okay, so thanks for watching Coffee Tools. Please like, share, subscribe, and ring the notice bell, and check in with us. Love to hear about technical tinkers. If anybody knows if anything's wrong, or it's just maybe he took a vacation. Over and out.